Next up is Biswamit Dwibedy. Amit, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Anna, for doing this. My name is Biswamit Dwibedy. I'm from India. I live in Paris. And I'm a little nervous because though it is not my first time reading in Reykjavík, it is my first time reading from my phone using my glasses. So I feel like I will totally ruin it forever. This is already broken, but let's see if this works. And what I'm going to do, it's not these my dad's glasses, so don't judge. I didn't know I was 40. So I'm going to read from this. It's a story that it exists as a novel and it exists as a screenplay, but I think my favorite part exists as a book of poems. And these poems are probably notes that created the novel and the screenplay, and it is about the first Indian man who started an Indian restaurant in London in 1810. He was also the first Indian man to write a book in English, and he started a spa, and he also invented shampoo. Very, very busy man. Not much to do in 1810, I guess. So we'll start. And I keep thinking of this as a radio play almost. And it's called the Hindustani Coffee House. No one knows for how long Deen Muhammad has lived in London, or from where and how he came from Cork or Calcutta. Some say, your friends are already waiting in a new town, this new heaven, what with all these estates coming up along the ocean, the windows doubling the coast. Or, first come the friends and then the neighborhood, till your fortune arranges itself into a street where the shops are mostly owned by your friends, all women, growing the second heart of Westminster in 1810 is also the story of a kitchen, a building, a park, a lane, a square, a muse, a county, a continent, a coincidence, which what you call home is, known to move away at the rate of fingernails. And you must keep them clean, he urged his employees to allure new guests. He encouraged eating with your hands. Deen Sheikh Muhammad was first an alchemist and then a barber, a plagiarist and then a poet, but before that and therefore a doctor of all that is sensual and doesn't make sense. First a creator of potions, then an author, then a cook, an entrepreneur before the royal court, and then returned home a stranger to oneself. Home. Every house is a fractal. You are surprised at how modern things are, how the cartographer has reimagined each courtyard, painting each shrub with a fine brush, a garden balanced on a magnifying glass. Everywhere you turn, you see the door to a new room. That's simply what an architect does. Is it possible to break that wall? For then the view would go on forever, garden after garden full of friends. So you select a neighborhood that is still a seed and will keep growing for years to come. Here you will never be alone. A blessing and a curse. Rent of a peppercorn. It is always the year of our Lord. This time it happens to be 1809. There is more land in London than people know what to do with. And so we sign a lease, which is a work of art in itself, written in the most ornate handwriting. You think 99 years is too long, but who would have known that the lease of a building would outlast the building itself? Hundreds of these leases were written each day. Never mind the time it takes to write such a document. The ink that turns this paper into a landscape, the home that becomes the basic unit of exchange, the land, a canvas on which the men who could never afford a house of their own draw one last breath and create a panorama. The only things on this map that remain are the trees, whereas everything around has changed. Her home turned into a luxury hotel. His tables are now a boutique. Look closer, and amongst the trees are shadows pegged to the ground. They're ghosts of gardeners who have nothing to prove. How do we get to where we belong, they ask, and how will we find it when we have no memory? Cannot tell whence we come and go. It would be impossible to count how many were responsible for what you now claim is the flower of all cities in this world, built on our backs. So let us now say out loud all those names we do not know. What would be the length of that silence? Now I understand what erasure means. Repeat until the absence echoes in each room they were not allowed to enter. A servant behind each curtain with his back to the view. Waited behind closed doors for the guests to settle into their seats so they can be fed something that never tasted before. Pineapple. Behind every pineapple is a hummingbird. The most excellent and difficult fruit is the sum of 200 flowers together can turn out to be poisonous. The pineapple first appears in a painting in 1654 with John Rose kneeling down to present a gift, the pineapple, to Charles II. And the two dogs by his side, smaller than the fruit that stubbornly recedes back into a garden where it doesn't belong. Some flowers open only at night and need baths. Some fruits are a gift of his thorny heart, could bloom by just planting the top part in the soil, proving there is nothing easier than friendship. The first book written in English by an Indian author was a collage. Collect material from the Irish coast, the Baker Library, learn love and elope, immigrate back. A boy of 11 followed his captain to another country, searching for a name for this orientation towards a new language in which he read the popular travelogues of the time, books by foreigners that had journeyed to his home, relying only on found material, create an epistolary autobiography. What did the first Indian man to write a book in English know about grammar? What do we return to when we start speaking a new tongue? His life is proof that language is always related to an alchemy that never was, is distributing the news. In 3 countries, 4 cities, 5 failed ventures out into the world. These are his poems, letters, words stolen from grand tradition of the 18th century travelogue. Leaves a trace of his travel for us to ponder along the river where he might have sailed or could have walked along each morning to work, dressed in Indian motifs, silks and patterns that result in the perfect English laughter. I am, gentlemen, your much obliged, most devoted and very humble servant. Thank you.